So our goal today is to finish up Esther 8, 9, and 10. And we had a really great Bible study last week talking about we were kind of at the climax of the story, which was a great story. It was so good.
I didn't want to stop.
It's such a good story. We got to the part where that we got to see the divine providence and the irony, which is a great storytelling. It's a good characteristic of a good story is to show irony, which is he built the gallows that he was actually hanged on. So I've enjoyed this Bible study. In fact, this guy called me just right before I came trying to get me financing for Bailey's Roofing. And I said, I'm going to teach a Bible study. And he said, well, teach me one. And I said, you read the book of Esther? And he said, well, I'm Jewish. And I said, well, it's still a great story for you. You still need to read it. It's got hidden stuff in it. So we've talked about providence, God's hand working behind the scenes. And we've talked about courage. We've talked about faith. We've talked about how that she had respect for her uncle, that she tried to, she was a humble person. She was a gracious lady, and she won favor with those around her, but she was a respectful woman. Her name meant, what did her name mean?
Esther?
Mm-hmm. Well, Esther means something different, but her Hebrew name was Hadassah, and it means hidden. And
it means what? Hidden.
And this whole story is hidden. It has hidden things in it.
Mm-hmm.
We've been kind of digging out some things that you wouldn't just get at the first thing, because she was hidden. Her Jewish heritage was hidden, and she was hidden from the king of who she even was. So, but there are also hidden things in the story, and we've talked about the fact that, do you know who Martin Luther was?
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther started the Protestant Reformation. He didn't want the book of Esther in the Bible because it does not mention God's name, doesn't mention prayer, doesn't mention miracles, doesn't mention a coming Savior. And so he wanted to take it out, but the name of God is actually hidden in the book, in the words of Esther. And probably was written during this time of the Persian Medes, written as a chronicle. So I think that maybe God's name was hidden for a reason, probably because of that they were in captivity. So this was the time of the Medes and Persians, 474, 73 BC. Medes and Persians, the Jews were in captivity or under tribute to the Medes and the Persian, and so probably not really respected very well, probably considered slaves, although we can see that in cases like Daniel was elevated. He was a gracious and wise person, and he was elevated. That captivity started with Babylon, and then later was the Medes and the Persians. And so that's this segment that we're reading about with Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, is during the time of the captivity, when they were in captivity to Babylon and then Medes and Persians. So, and then we've talked about the great irony of this story. The king was prideful and impulsive and angry. Haman was evil and wicked, and Mordecai was a guy that stood up for his rights. Evidently, he stood up for his heritage, whether he was just standing for his heritage or because of the antipathy between the Agagites, that he wouldn't bow to him. But the irony, the climax of the story, and the great irony of how that all came together was a great moment, wasn't it? That was a good Bible study.
Yeah.
So today we're going to finish it up and talk a little bit about what we're going to do next. Okay. Ma, you want to start?
Okay. That same day, King Xerxes gave Queen Esther the estate of Haman, the enemy of the Jews, and Mordecai came into the presence of the king, for Esther had told how he was related to her. The king took off his signet ring, which he had reclaimed from Haman, and presented it to Mordecai, and Esther appointed him over Haman's estate. Esther again pleaded with the king, following at his feet and weeping. She begged him to put an end to the evil plan of Haman the Agagite, which he had devised against the Jews. Then the king extended the gold scepter to Esther, and she rose and stood before him.
Okay, so why do you now? So she's pleading with the king, but why can't he undo this plan?
Because once the king makes a ruling, it's forever.
It's set. And this was not just his way. This is just the rule of the Persian. This was the Persian law. Okay, you want to try?
If it please, am I on
Yeah,
5?
okay. 5, yeah.
If it please the king, she said, if he, okay, let me start over. I'm sorry. I'm just so nervous.
Just be calm.
you're fine.
Be calm.
If it please the king, she said, and if he regards me with the favor and think it is the right thing to do, and if he is pleased with me, let an order be written overruling the dispatches of that Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, devised and wrote to destroy the Jews in all the king's provinces, and how can I bear to see the disaster fall? Sorry,
Good too, though.
yeah,
It's a good word.
disaster fall on my people. How can I bear to see the destruction of my family? King
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
King
Xerxes.
I call it the other one.
Yeah.
King Xerxes replied to Queen Esther and to Mordecai the Jew, because Haman attacked the Jews, I have given his estate to Esther, and they have impaled him on a pole and set him up. Now write another decree in the king's name in behalf of the Jews, it seems best to you, and seal it with the king's signet ring, and no document written in the king's name and sealed with his ring can be revoked.
And we talked about the fact that impaling is that he was already dead. We feel like he was already dead, but the impaling was a shame, to show the shame.
Yeah.
You know,
To set an example.
To set an
Exactly.
example. Right. Right.
At once, the royal secretaries were summoned on the 23rd day of the 3rd month, the month of Sivan. They wrote all of Mordecai's orders to the Jews and to the Strabots, the governors and the nobles that were 127 province stretching from India to Crush. These orders were written in a script of each province and the language of each people, and also to the Jews of their own script and language. Mordecai wrote in the name of
King Xerxes.
sealed the dispatches with the king's signet ring, and sent them to mounted couriers and rode fast horses, especially the breed for the king.
And we kind of talked about that too. This is a well-known historical fact that Persia had a very good postal type system, or like the old, what was that called? Not Wells Fargo, but the old
Pony
Pony
Express.
Express. That they had a very good system. I mean, he had 127 provinces. This was a big area. Evidently, many different groups of people, because it said they wrote them in different languages for the different people and for the Jewish. And so they sent out these, and they had some time, because remember when he threw the lot or the die maybe. It was like they had a year. This all transpired, so they had a year. They gave them some time, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, is there was some time in between that now a new edict can go out. Okay?
The king's edict granted the Jews in every city the right to assemble and protect themselves to destroy, kill, and annihilate the armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children, and to plunder the property of their enemies. The day appointed for the Jews to do this in all the provinces of King Xerxes was the 13th day of the 12th month of the month of Adar. A copy of the text of the edict was to be issued as law in every province and made known to the people of every nationalities, so the Jews would be ready on that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. The couriers riding the royal horses went out, spurred by the king's command, and the edict was issued in the citadel of Susa.
What is the
Okay,
what does that month mean, Adar?
Well, that was just part of their Jewish calendar.
Okay.
And so when he threw the lot was to determine, because they were very superstitious. So he threw the lot, which they were putting themselves in the hands of fate. We kind of talked about that during some of the Bible study. Is Greeks and Persians were very set on the idea of fate, that things were fated. And so he's throwing the dice and he's setting the day that they're going to kill the Jews by what the lot said, and that was the 13th day of Adar, which ended up being a year or 13 months ahead of where they were. So that's why we've got a little bit of time going on, because they said they were in the month of Sivan. So
They were in the 3rd month.
And so they
So
have some
they've
time.
got
Another 9
I
months.
would like to
Start
write
with
all
the
these down
13
and
months.
put them in our months. That way we could kind of
well,
understand.
the
Yeah.
3rd month would be March, and the 12th month would be December.
Yeah, they have a little
December,
bit different because they have a lunar calendar, so it's
Yeah.
a little
Right.
bit
A
different.
little
Or
different.
if it was the 13th month, it'd be December and it'd be January.
So, however, that falls, but their lunar calendar is a little different
Yeah.
than our months because of the 28-day cycle. You have a question too?
No, I think that
Answered that.
That answered it.
Y'all both had the same question.
No,
Sort of.
my question was different.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What I'm getting is he wrote a decree to kill all the Jews because of Haman.
Right.
He can't take it
You
back.
can't take it back.
So he wrote another decree for the Jews to take up for themselves.
Yes,
Right.
but not to go out and kill other people, to
But
defend.
to defend
Just
themselves.
defend
Defend
themselves.
themselves.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I'm
see.
caught up. I'm right.
Okay,
All right.
you're right. You're
Okay.
right. And
That's
he
what I was
also-
getting.
The decree also said that they could plunder, they could take the spoils, but we'll see later on that they don't do that.
Yeah, they.
But you know, it might seem like, oh, that's a vicious thing, but no, they're not going out to kill, to slaughter like the Jews were going to be. They're only defending
themselves. Okay.
Okay. Who's next?
Yeah, hang on a minute, I can't see.
When I can see, she is next. And the couriers went out, spurred on.
No, I think she read that.
Yeah, she already read that.
Yeah, it's
We're on the
15.
tri-
The triumph of the Jews. When Mordecai left the king's presence, he was wearing royal garments of blue and white, a large crown of gold, and a purple robe of fine linen. And the city of Susa held a joyous celebration. For the Jews, it was a time of happiness and joy, gladness and honor. In every province and in every city to which the edict of
What is the
King
edict?
came.
It's a
rule?
law.
Okay.
There was joy and gladness among the Jews, with feasting and celebrating, and many people of other nationalities became Jews because fear of the Jews had seized them.
Isn't that something? Is they actually had proselytes who became Jews just because they realized. And do you remember? Well, the part of the irony we didn't even talk about was the irony of Haman made this gallows, and then the king says, well, what should be done for the man that the king wants to honor? There was also that little bit of irony, was that because talked about him coming out with his blue and white robe, his crown. He had already been honored by Haman. Haman had to honor him. That was kind of an ironic moment where Haman had to lead him through the city. And so during that period of time, when he was humbled even his wife realized, hey, this might not work out good for you. If the God of the Jews is against you, or she didn't say God, but she kind of indicated to him that maybe this was not going to work out for him. And kind of like when the children of Israel came out of Egypt and they came into the wilderness, and then later were to go in and take over their promised land. It said that, like with Jericho, Rahab said because they knew the fear of God, these people that God was standing up for already had went out. And that's kind of how what's going on here is they realize, oh, wait, the Jews are being elevated. Maybe we better join that bandwagon. Maybe we better become that, which, you know, I guess is better than following the edict to kill them. But it's an odd thing, I guess, to decide you're going to join. But if you can't beat them, join them, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of the theory here.
So they were following a group instead of what God told them to do.
Right. Okay, so and it kind of gives us a footnote that says, together with the women and children who might attack them, and I don't know if that means that the women and children could attack. The way it's worded says, armed men of any nationality or province who might attack them and their women and children. So I don't know if it's trying to say that the women and children also have the ability to attack, or if it's just saying.
I thought it
Maybe
meant
they
to
got
kill the women and children too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what I
To
thought also.
annihilate the whole
Yes,
lot
and
of
it
them.
looks like that's, to me, that's how it's worded.
What
So I
does it
don't
say,
know what
Maya?
the province together with the women and children who might attack them. So
In the New King James Version, it says, province that would assault them, both little children and women, and to plunder their possessions.
okay. And it still sounds like to me that they're talking about that they're defending because they were going to not only attack the men, but the women and the children.
Yeah.
So,
That's what
Okay.
it sounds like to me.
Esther 9, we're to the almost last chapter.
On the 13th day of the 12th month of the month of Adar, the edict commanded by the king was to be carried out. On this day, the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, but now the tables were turned, and the Jews got the upper hand over those who hated them. The Jews assembled in their cities, in all the provinces of the king Xerxes, to attack those determined to destroy them. No one could stand against them, because the people of all the other nationalities were afraid of them. Woo-hoo! And all the nobles,
Carry on.
and all the nobles of the provinces, and the
Satraps.
here we go,
Satraps.
satraps, the governors and the king's administrators helped the Jews because the fear of Mordecai had seized them. Mordecai was prominent in the palace. His reputation spread throughout all the provinces, and he became more and more powerful. Do you want me to keep on, or
No, she can go.
okay?
Okay, I'm not reading 5. It's got too many names.
Oh yeah, you
I'm
just,
not going to read number
Yeah,
5.
you
It's got
just-
all the
yeah,
weird
you
names.
just-
Here,
skip
I'll
that.
read and then you
I
can
can-
read the next one.
Okay.
The Jews struck down all their enemies with the sword, killing and destroying them, and they did what they pleased to those who hated them. In the citadel of Susa, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. They also killed Parshadatha, Dalphon,
She's making a stab at it.
Aspatha, Poratha, Adalia, Aridatha,
So you better know what it's going to do.
Barmishta, Arisai, Ardai, and Vazda.
What's her name?
Just
I
watch.
almost thought that was
Vazatha.
Vasatha.
Thank you. The 10 sons of Haman, son of Hamadatha,
It would have been
the
easier just to
enemy
say that.
of the enemy of the Jews, but they did not lay their hands on the
Did
plunder.
not lay their hands on
The number of those killed in the citadel of Susa was reported to the king the same day. The king said to Queen Esther, the Jews have killed and destroyed 500 men and the 10 sons of Haman in the citadel of Susa. What have they done in the rest of the king's provinces? Now what is your petition? It will be given you. What is your request? It will also be granted.
Now, she has quite a position, probably more so than a normal Persian queen, because she's now in the king's favor, and she's kind of, her and her uncle also have been really kind of promoted in their stance and their stature.
They're like Haman.
Yeah. So the king has really given her the opportunity to say, what do you want now? What do you want to do now? And the other thing about all these names that you stumbled through, you did such a great job. You did a great job.
I tried to study them before I got to 3 and left.
Yeah, if I have to read those, I want to study up on those. But the guy that I had been listening to, who is now dead, so I don't know if I'll ever find the answer to this, when he was reading that, he said, there is a story behind all of their names that I'll tell you later, and so I don't know. Evidently, there's something hidden about their names, but I don't know if I'll ever stumble onto it because I'm still listening to some of his writing or his videos.
That's what I thought. If the names are in here, they're in here
There's
for
a
a reason.
reason.
Yes. Kathy, you want to read that one?
So the king commanded that this be done, and edict was issued in
Susa.
and they impaled the 10 sons of Haman. The Jews in Susa came together on the 14th day of the month of Adar, and they put death in Susa 300 men, but they didn't lay their hands on the plunder. See, right there, when they're talking about the month, and they're talking about the 12th month of Adar, maybe that December instead of, I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
I don't know if they go right on the Roman calendar. I think we might have skipped the verse. If it please the king, Esther answered, give the Jews in Susa permission to carry out this day's edict tomorrow also, and let Haman's 10 sons be impaled on poles. And keeping in mind that we've already said they were killed.
Yeah.
But once again, this is an example and a shame. So, okay, go ahead.
Okay.
And still not laying their hands on the plunder. They were very restrained.
Well, 16.
All right. Meanwhile, the remainder of the Jews who were in the king's provinces also assembled to protect themselves and get relief from their enemies. They killed 75,000 of them, but did not lay their hands on their plunder. This happened on the 13th day of the month of Adar, and on the 14th they rested and made it a day of feasting and joy. The Jews in Susa, however, had assembled on the 13th and 14th, and then on the 15th they rested and made it a day of joy and feasting.
This ended up kind of being a
I'll just
three.
finish
This
this one here
established
while we're
a
at
three.
it.
Yeah, go ahead.
That is why rural Jews, those living in villages, observe the 14th of the month of Adar as a day of joy and feasting, a day of giving presents to each other. Let's have a party.
Yeah, and establish this feast, this festival. Okay, go ahead.
Mordecai recorded this event, and he sent letters to all the Jews throughout the provinces of the king Xerxes, near and far, to have them celebrate annually on the 14th day, 14th day and the 15th days of the month of Adar, as the time when the Jews got relief from their enemies, and as the month when their sorrow was turned into joy, and the mourning into day of celebration. He wrote them to observe the days as days of feasting and joy, and giving presents and food to one another and gifts to the poor. So you want me to keep on? Or do you want me to? So the Jews agreed to continue to celebrate, and they had began doing what Mordecai had written them. And Haman's sons of Hammedatha, the Agagite, Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had plotted against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast the pur, that is, the lot, in their ruin and destruction. But when the plot came to the king's attention, he issued written orders that the evil scheme Haman had devised against the Jews should come back onto their own head, and that he and his sons should impale on poles. Therefore, these days were called Purim, from the word pure, because of everything written in this letter, and because of what they had seen and what had happened to them. The Jews took on themselves to establish the custom that they had descendants, and all who joined them should, without fail, observe these 2 days every year, in which was prescribed and at the end appointed. These days should be remembered and observed in every generation, in every family, and in every province, and in every city. And these days of Purim should never fail to be celebrated on the Jews, nor should the memory of these days die out among the descendants.
And they do so still celebrate it today. It has become a lasting celebration, a lasting memorial. Not like the Feast of Moses. There are 2 feasts that they celebrate that are not the Levitical feast, which is Hanukkah and Purim. Okay, Kathy?
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You want to read?
Sure.
26.
So Queen Esther, daughter of Abihail, along with Mordecai the Jew, wrote with full authority to confirm this second letter concerning Purim. And Mordecai sent letters to all the Jews in the 127 provinces of King Xerxes' kingdom, words of goodwill and assurance, to establish these days of Purim at their designated times, as Mordecai the Jew and Queen Esther had decreed for them, and as they had established for themselves and their descendants in regard to their times of fasting and lamentation. Esther's decree confirmed these regulations about Purim, and it was written down in the records.
And just keeping in mind that it says up there, Mordecai recorded those events, and also it's written down in the records. There are records. This is a historical thing. We're not just reading a Bible story. This is a historical time. There are records of that time. There are the Persians and the Medes kept records. And so, and still there's the question of who wrote this book, but I really feel like that it was written, if not by Mordecai, but by Jewish, and I'll kind of explain why I think that later, but obviously Mordecai is recording things. Some of the perspective we've talked about of how this is written seems like it was written from someone who was an observer.
Right.
Definitely observer. And because of the way it's written, I feel like it probably was a Jewish writer, but we don't specifically know that for sure. Okay, let's finish up.
I'll take it.
Because
King Xerxes imposed tribute throughout the empire to its distant shores, and all his acts of power and might, together with a full account of the greatness of Mordecai, whom the king had promoted, are they not written in the book of the annals of the kings of Media and Persia. Mordecai the Jew was second in rank to King Xerxes, preeminent among the Jews, and held in high esteem by his many fellow Jews, because he worked for the good of his people and spoke up for the welfare of all the Jews. Woohoo!
Oh, is that it?
And that's it. That's it. It was just kind of a little summary there in 10. Okay, so the Feast of Purim, it still happens today. They read the book of Esther in the morning and in the evening. They give gifts to friends. They give food to neighbors. They take care of the poor. That's one of the things that they do is help the poor. I think in one place I said 2 families during the feasting, which is supposed to be a time of celebration, but also love and unity. They wear costumes. The kids wear costumes, and that's supposed to symbolize the fact that there was that they were hidden.
What kind of costumes? Like Halloween?
They dress up. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It said sometimes it was different nationalities.
Oh, okay.
And so, and what do they do when they say the name of Haman? You remember?
I don't remember.
I don't
They
either.
stomp and they hiss, and they also use noisemakers to show that his name. They have done away with the Amalekites. They have taken them away. So they stomp, they hiss, they boo at the name of Haman, and they make noise.
You mean the
noisemakers.
Agagites?
The Agagites. The Agagite. Well, he was an Agagite, but he was also an Amalekite.
Oh, okay.
There's no more descendants.
Okay, so I know that he was.
An Agagite.
Yeah. Do they hate the Jews like Haman did?
Can you get me 1 Samuel 15 and 8 and Exodus?
You said first what?
1 Samuel 15 and 8 and Rhonda, Exodus 17, 8 and 6.
17.
17. I don't know. I've got 8 to 6, but I don't know why I would put 8 to 6. So we'll have to get there. And then
I guess I asked a good question. I don't know.
Deuteronomy 25, 17 through 19.
7. All right.
Yours is Exodus 17. Start reading at 6 and let me see what 6 says.
Okay, what was mine?
Yours was 1 Samuel 15 and 8. Start reading it.
Oh, me?
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and they shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel, and he called the name of the place Massah.
Is
I don't have anything
more?
for
Massah.
Okay.
Massa?
Close
Is that-
enough.
all
Close
right.
enough.
And, I don't know. Morabiah.
Meribah.
Meribah. The waters of Meribah.
Okay. Because of the childing of the children of Israel, the childing of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? Then the Amalekite and fought with Israel in
Rephidim.
Rephidim sounds good. And so now we're talking about the Amalekites, because when they came out of Israel or Egypt, and they're in the wilderness, and then they're going to eventually go into the promised land. But during this time that they're wandering in the wilderness, the Amalekites attacked them. Okay, so go ahead and read.
And Moses said unto Joshua, Choose us out men, and go out and fight the Amalekite. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses had said to him, and fought with the Amalekites. And Moses, Aaron, and Hur, is that right?
Yep.
Hur, went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass that Moses held up his hand, that Israel's prevailed. And when he let down his hand, the Amalekites prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he had sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed up his hands, and one on the one side and on the other side, and the hands were steady unto the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomforted Amalekite and his people with the edge of the sword. I don't know what that word is. Just comes. Does
It's
that mean
kind of-
killed?
Yes. Well, they were winning the battle.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so what verse are you on now?
14.
Go ahead and read through 16 and let's see if
Okay.
that gets what I want to hear.
And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua, for I will utterly put out the remembrance of the Amalekite from under heaven. And Moses built an altar, and he called the name of it Jeravaranesi.
Close enough.
Good enough.
For he said, because the Lord had sworn that the Lord will have war with the Amalekites from generation to generation.
Okay, so you see this is not just a new battle. This is not just a new enmity between, this has been going on for a while. And when they were out doing this is not slaughter. This is God's way of justice.
Protection, yeah.
Well, it's a justice. You know, sometimes say there's a lot of, well, why does God let people do this? But sometimes that is not sometimes it's more of a civil or a justice type thing.
Yeah.
Not revenge, but justice.
The first time I ever started reading the Bible, I thought God was mean.
Yes.
It took me like
He
3
is-
or 4
Same here.
times.
He is,
3 or
my
4.
boss read it and she said, I did not realize, but he's pretty strict. He's pretty strict.
But 3 or 4 times after reading it, I seen the love of
Yes.
God coming through
Because
it.
there's justice, but
Yeah.
there's also mercy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, can you read yours?
Okay, 1 Samuel 15:8. He also took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive and utterly destroyed all of the people with the edge of the sword.
So once again, they're supposed to be getting rid of these ites and tights and all these people that are against them.
Yeah.
Saul was told by Samuel, we're going to utterly wipe them out and do not take any of the spoil. But what did he do? He saved.
He took the king of the Amalekites alive and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of
This
the
was
sword.
King Agag, which is Amalekite, but also Agagite.
They were supposed
That's
to
a tongue
kill
twister.
him.
He was supposed to have killed him,
Yeah.
but he did not do what he was supposed to do. Okay, and yours, did you
It was
run?
25 what?
17 through 19.
Yeah.
I had the longest one.
You're a good reader.
That's
I
because
thought,
I
well,
wrote my,
thank you. I've never been told
I
that
wrote my scripture
before.
down wrong.
I
so-
stumble along.
Remember what Amalek did unto thee, by the way, when you were come forth out of Egypt. How he met thee by the way, and smote the hindmost of thee, even all that were feeble behind thee. When thou wast faint and weary, and he feared not God. Therefore it shall be, when the Lord thy God hath given thee rest from all thine enemies round about, in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven, and thou shalt not forget it.
God was saying for a long, long time, there's enmity because they have came against the people of God and really just attacked them. I think this first passage, maybe your passage, they just attacked them. There was with no provocation. So in God's mind, they were the enemy. Okay, and so now we still have this Feast of Purim that is established, and to me, it kind of tells me that this book should have definitely been in the Bible. I think there is good in it, but also just for Jewish history, this preserved their nation.
Oh, yes.
Because remember, it said Jews in every province. So these Jews were scattered out. Remember, but some of them had went back to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
But some of them were scattered out throughout all the provinces. But they were supposed to annihilate all of them. So this is the preservation of the Jewish nation. So a very important historical story also.
See, my brain didn't even comprehend that. I thought it was just in one little place.
No.
I didn't realize it was.
The Medes and Persians
It
were
was
everywhere.
vast.
Yes, he was a vast.
It was
Everywhere.
vast.
And they were trying to also
So they had a year.
to get this all in place.
Yeah.
Haman had a year to get his in place, but they also had the rest of the year to
get enough to protect themselves and their
right.
family.
And they did not take the plunder, but they did defend themselves.
Well, didn't it say in there at one point that they could take the
They
plunder?
Yes.
Yes.
but they did not.
And
Just
it
get-
don't have any reason for that.
I think that was probably just a restraint on their part. Is we're not taking the plunder of these people.
Yeah.
We're just defending ourselves.
Yeah.
We're just
You
defending
know,
ourselves.
ever since
I think
time,
that's
We're
what
not
we're
going to
gonna
drop
have
to.
to do.
We're not going to drop to their level and
Right,
take
right,
everything.
right.
Well, and they killed the men. They didn't kill the wives and children.
Right.
And so if they took the plunder, what was going to happen to their wives and children?
Right.
I thought they killed them.
No, they killed. I don't think
I
so.
don't
well, it
I
said,
thought they killed the women and
yeah,
children.
attacking women and children is together with women and
But
children.
I think that was the Jewish
That-
women and
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I thought I was reading it before I came, and I tore off
Together with
Esther.
women
It says
and
They
children.
killed, in verse 5, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men, and then the sons. And then they killed in the citadel, and they killed 500 men and 10 sons. And then it just says in verse 16, they killed 75,000 of them, but did not lay hands. So, maybe just attacking those that attacked them, which they were attacking their women and children. But
Yeah.
it doesn't really specifically say that they attacked just the ones who were attacking them, so maybe not the women and children.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
I don't think that the Jewish killed their women, and the other women and children,
That's
because
specific.
they would have considered that vengeance, which is God's.
That's a very
Yeah.
specific, very, we may not know specifically the answer, but it's a very good point. So we're at the end, and I have just one, question. Let me see, because I don't know if there's anybody else gifted for this room. But there is a lot about what is hidden in the words of Esther. And I have kind of printed off some stuff about it. We probably won't really have time for today, but I'm kind of thinking that maybe I might cover that at the beginning of what we do next. Because there's a lot of numerology. There's a lot of encoding in the Bible. There's a lot of hidden things in the Bible. So Esther being the book that is hidden, about the hidden one, there's a lot, the name of God, the YHWH, which my husband mentioned on Sunday morning, but I don't even really know if anybody knows what he's referring to. It's
Yahweh.
called is translated or interpreted Yahweh or Jehovah, is the Tetragrammaton, and that sequence of Jewish letters, the YHWH, is encoded into the book of Esther. And we can kind of talk about that, but there's also many places that there are things encoded into. So the Hebrew scripture, that's why I think that it's written by Hebrew, because the encoding has to do with numerology. And
Right.
the Jewish nation, there's a lot of numerology. So I might kind of cover that, but I think next time, I think that what our next thing to study is we're going to talk about just the Bible itself. We're going to start talking about the Bible first of all, because we've had people, I've had a couple of people recently have questioned, and I've seen it even out on Facebook. Somebody said, well, the Bible is just handled by a bunch of sinful men. Well, that's not true.
No.
I mean, yes, it may have been, but there's truth in the Bible, and there's also a lot of encoding that is not random. It's not coincidental. So I think we're going to talk about the Bible, and then we're going to talk about the apostles. So I think that we'll start, and I don't know how long that's going to take, because I'm very wordy, but I think that next, so I might talk about the encoding as we start talking about just the why we can put our faith. We can put our faith in the Bible, and there's a good reason. It's not just faith on faith. I believe it because it's God's word. I just believe it because He said it. We have a foundation of faith that we can, or we have a foundation that we can put faith in, not just say, I have faith in this because He said it. We have a rock, really, a good bedrock of foundation as to why. We can trust the Bible. We can trust the translations that we have. We can trust the words, and that it has not been handled so many times that we've lost. God said He's going to preserve His word. He said every jot and every tittle. I believe He's preserved it. The story of salvation is a very plain and very easy to get, but there's a lot of hidden things too that we can dig out, and so I think that we're going to start that next, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, I think a lot of people take